What's going on, everybody? This is Eric Velasquez with Alamo City Agenda, and we are here at the lovely and beautiful Wild Barley. so, um, we're switching up the location as far as like where we're sitting, just to showcase this beautiful sign that we have in the back. And we're just grateful for Wild Barley having us here every Monday. So thank you guys. So come out, support Wild Barley. You can come in and join as well if you want to come in and ask a question or jump in online and ask a question directly. So we appreciate anything that you guys have as far as to be engaged. So thank you, Anthony. Good morning. Anthony says good morning.
Hi, Anthony.
So first of all, we have here Patrice Melancon.
Melancon.
Oh, I was totally off.
It's French.
Oh,
it's
okay.
French.
I'm
There should
off.
be a little squiggly thing under the C.
I would have still done it. I still done it in Spanish.
Okay,
I would have
that's
been like Melancon.
Melancon.
Like Melancon. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally wrong, guys. I was
That's
totally
okay.
wrong. Okay, so and you're running for the San Antonio River Authority Board of Directors at large.
Yes, for Bear County.
For
That's
Bear
correct.
County.
That's correct, Eric.
Before we get into your run, how was your weekend? How was your weekend?
It was good. I really have spent the last probably 4 days sort of recovering over jet lag. I think I told you I was in South Africa for a couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
And I forced myself to stay up till 9:30 the first 2 nights because I knew if I didn't get ahead of it and get back on a normal sleep schedule, I was going to be wrecked for a couple of weeks.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what did you see? Was it like how people envision South Africa?
Well, I mean, it was amazing. It's interesting, kind of driving through a lot of it kind of reminded me of West Texas almost because it's kind of a lot of low shrubs in a lot of areas. We were there in what's their spring. So bushes and things had not really started leafing out a lot, which was good for animal viewing because if
Right.
you had all these leaves, you probably couldn't see as many animals. But we saw a ton of elephants. We saw giraffes literally right outside the car,
Wow.
10 feet away, hippos. We got to see elephants swimming across the Zambezi River. We had to see Victoria Falls.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Like, were you scared? Like I've seen some videos where like a cheetah jumps on the car and gets in the car.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I was necessarily scared. We were actually in an enclosed van. I know we did see some groups that were in kind of open air.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually we took one for a cultural tour later that week, and so they're kind of up a little bit higher. But we were in an enclosed vehicle, and honestly, we were very respectful. At one point, there were a couple of buffaloes that were crossing, African buffaloes crossing. We gave them a wide berth. One time they had some elephants crossing again, stay back. So yeah, I never really felt afraid.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't, but then I don't know. Like you just
when
don't
you're
know.
there. Well, I mean, it's really amazing, and I took a ton of pictures, but the pictures don't do it justice to actually be there and see the whole vista. I mean, watching 4 elephants swim across the river was, it was magical.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to do something. Closest I've been to Disney World. That's it. That's closest.
Well, you got time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump right into it. How? Oh, hold on. My bad.
Okay, no worries.
I got my notes wrong.
Oh, that's okay.
There we go. Okay, tell us about your background and the experience that you have in regards to this position.
Sure. So I went to college in Louisiana, University of Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. I graduated with a bachelor's in civil engineering. Okay. I was on a 4-year Air Force ROTC scholarship. So when I graduated, I went directly into active duty Air Force. I worked as a bioenvironmental.
Sorry, I was doing the air horn. I was Air Force as well.
Yay! Very good. So I went directly into the Air Force. I worked for 9 years active duty as a bioenvironmental engineer. We focused more on kind of OSHA, environmental protection, and radiation safety for the Air Force bases.
Okay.
When I transferred out of the reserve, out of the active duty into the reserves in 97, I transferred into civil engineering, which is more focused on base infrastructure.
Right, right.
I moved up to Austin and went to UT Austin, Hook 'em Horns. No, not this. This. Come on, Eric, wake up. Not enough coffee. I got my master's degree in water resources engineering.
Nice.
And worked for 15 years for Camp Industrial McKee, now CDM Smith. Did 8 years really focused on water resources projects, water supply, water distribution, wastewater collection, stormwater collection, drainage studies. We did work mostly in the Central Texas area for municipalities. We also did some work for the Brazos River Authority. Okay. One of the interesting projects we did was looking at the southern end of their jurisdiction and looking at the possibility of desalination for additional water supply source.
Can you explain just to the general public what desalination?
Sure. Basically taking seawater, which is salty water, and taking the salt out of it to be able to use it as a source of water. Okay. Interestingly enough, I grew up outside of New Orleans, and I'm going to be going there at the end of the month for my 40-year high school reunion. I'm sort of can't believe I'm old enough to go to my 40-year high school reunion.
I never even went to my 20. I was like,
come on, you gotta go.
See any of those people.
Anyway, my very dear friend of mine I've known literally since kindergarten said that they are really, because of the drought and the lack of rain in kind of the central U.S., they are very worried about salt water intruding into the water supply. So, the Corps of Engineers is looking at ways they can try to mitigate that.
Right.
So,
the lack of water too coming into our rivers is getting a little concerning.
Exactly.
Is there anything the River Authority can do in regards to that matter, like that?
Well, one of the things that people probably don't think about is one of the things. So I will also tell you, I worked for the River Authority for 3 years.
Okay.
So when I left the consulting firm I worked for in 2013, I left it to go on extended active duty out in California. I was working for Air Force Space Command doing a facility renovation project for their Space Operations Center. Technically, I probably could have asked the River Authority to hold my job because I was going back on active duty, but I felt like 2 to 3 years was too long to ask an employer to do that. And I had been activated for a year after September 11th. That was involuntary. I couldn't have said no if I wanted to. And then I did 5 months in 2008, 5 months in 2012. And every time CDM Smith was super supportive. What's your projects? Let's pass them off to other people. And when I came back, they loaded me up again. But 2 to 3 years was just too much. So I resigned. Air Force moved to California for 2 years. I got selected for a new reserve position in the Pentagon and had to go back to part-time military duty. So I had to find a day job again. And I knew I wanted to come back to Central Texas and applied to Austin Water, City of Austin, City of San Antonio. Got hired with the San Antonio River Authority as the Department of Engineering manager.
You got hired back, or you?
No. That was the first time. That was the first time I worked with them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I had been in Austin for 15 years, from 97 to 2013. Was out in California for a couple years, and then in January 16, I started with Sarah as the Watershed Engineering Department manager. And one of the things that Sarah has really pushed for the last probably 10 or 15 years is what's called low impact development, or LID. And basically what that is functional landscaping. A lot of times you'll see drainage ditches that are concrete lined. It's really probably better to have more vegetation lined, because that allows water to seep in. And in addition to reducing the amount of runoff, that also gets more water going down into the soil and eventually making it into the aquifer.
Is that kind of like the creeks that we have? How I guess they were saying that they built like those barriers, or like the concrete on the side of the creeks.
Sometimes you do have to have. I know there's a couple of places. So the Mission Reach is one of the big projects that Sarah did. Probably it's been 10 or 12 years ago that they finished that project. Corps of Engineers was very involved. City of San Antonio, Bexar County for the funding. The River Authority does have a tax base. So they have a maximum is 2 cents per $100 evaluation. That's part of the property tax. They are not up to that max yet. I don't think they've ever been up to that max. but that money can only be used for planning and studies. It cannot be used for actual capital infrastructure for the building. So that's where we partner with the city and the county, and also looking for federal funding through the Corps of Engineers, that kind of thing, to be able to actually build it. But on the Mission Reach, the River Authority is responsible for the operation and maintenance of that. So they are out there cleaning up after floods. They also have to watch what's going on with erosion. And in some cases, they will have to do hardening so that the bank doesn't erode. And if it erodes far enough, it's going to get to roads or buildings that are then going to fall into the river. So in some cases, they have to do some hardening. They try to do it with more things like, you'll see there's one spot on the Mission Reach. I used to ride that very regularly when I worked for the River Authority. I haven't as much, and particularly not this summer with the heat.
Yeah.
But there's a spot where you'll see there are, they're called gabion baskets. So it's basically kind of like chicken wire baskets that have got boulders in it. So there's still void spaces that the water can flow through it. It's not completely impermeable, but it does keep the force of that water from eroding away the soil and eroding away the bank.
Okay. Well, now you guys know that's what those are for, because I've seen those and I'm like,
why do they have those?
What is that?
What is that all about?
Anthony says, thank you for your service. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. And as far as with the, because you were talking about the city and everything, and I know this isn't a political position, but how are you going to navigate dealing with the policies and the politics of working with the city?
Well, I mean, I think direct communication and direct conversation with them. I feel like I've got a very strong technical background, and I think that that's something that I can bring to our city and county officials to help them really understand the science behind it so that we can all make educated decisions. Too many times people hear things, and if you don't really dig into it and find out, is that true? Is that really what's going on?
Right.
So I really feel like I can bring that science and engineering background to bear to help educate the community and our public officials.
Gotcha. So I heard one of the candidates said that the San Antonio River, the Sarah does not have jurisdiction over the San Antonio River. It's like the 19 miles of it. Is that correct or no?
Because
I heard, I don't know. I keep hearing different things. So I don't know.
I don't know that that's correct. I mean, as far as I know, we have jurisdiction for what they call the bed and banks. So basically where the water is, and there's a certain amount outside of the water line. I know that we are not responsible for like the Riverwalk area. There have been discussions about the River Authority taking over the maintenance of that. I don't really know what the details are, but those discussions have never amounted to an agreement, a contractual agreement being signed for Sarah to take over the operation and maintenance. But I will tell you that they do have O&M responsibility for pretty much everything else other than the Riverwalk area.
Yeah, and that's what it was, the Riverwalk area.
Right.
But who takes over?
I believe the city's responsible for that.
City. Oh, okay.
I believe the city's responsible for that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the city.
Okay. I get it, but it's also weird that you wouldn't let an entity that deals with directly nothing but the river. Right. But
yeah, like I said, I wasn't involved in those discussions, so I don't really know why that never came to fruition.
Okay, makes sense. Like I said, it makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense.
I
know. What are some of the pressing challenges that are facing the river right now? The rivers.
Well, so one thing is trash. You would be amazed after a big storm event where we've got a lot of flow going through the rivers. If you go down on the Mission Reach and ride on those trails afterwards, you will see plastic bags in the trees. People just are not, I don't know that they're malicious, but they don't think about when they throw something out of the car.
Right.
Plastic bags, styrofoam cups, plastic straws, lids of styrofoam cups. you know, everything drains to the river eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is certainly a big problem. I know that the River Authority has tried a couple of different options. One of them is what's called a trash boom. So it's kind of a cage structure that floats in the river, and it's got booms on either side that have got I don't know what you call them, kind of like pool noodles,
Okay.
sort of. So basically, when the trash comes down the river, it gets funneled into this sort of cage structure, and then it can be cleaned out. Unfortunately, there's so much trash that I know, at least, and this is from probably 2018, this particular experience that I'm going to share with you. There was so much trash that it got so heavy that it broke the stay on one side.
Well, because it's probably not taking out as much, right? I'm sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, and once it's busted, all that trash goes down the river. So it's a hard problem.
Yeah.
But really, the ultimate solution is to control the source. Don't let it get on the ground to then get in the river.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the big giant trash. What is it? The trash island that's in the ocean right now that's floating around. Like it's frightening, right,
what we as humans are doing to our planet.
Yeah.
I don't want to disparage anybody, but people that think that climate change is a hoax, I have to wonder if they're not asleep at the wheel.
I don't know. All I know is just getting hotter, and it's just getting worse.
Right.
I'm like,
well, and it's getting more extreme because, we've got, this is probably the hottest summer on record, but it wouldn't surprise me if we had the coldest winter on record.
Right.
This winter.
Yeah, that snowvid thing was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It was the
snowvid. Yeah, that was pretty terrible.
How do you plan on building partnerships with, let's say, for example, the other Sarah, the San Antonio River Aid, the ones who clean up there? I've seen them. I follow them on Instagram. They do weekly cleanups.
Is it
of
the Watershed Warriors?
No, it's the San Antonio River Aid. I'm sure there's different several.
I'm not familiar with them, but I mean, I would certainly encourage the River Authority to try to partner with those folks. I know that we do have, through Sarah, there's a program called the Watershed Warriors, or River Warriors, maybe it is, that are volunteers that have gotten some training, and they go out regularly and pick up the trash. And do what they can to keep the river. And really, it's the trash that's the biggest thing that kind of community volunteers can be engaged in.
Right. And that's the thing is, I've noticed in San Antonio specifically, the nonprofits and the organizations, they don't talk to each other. And a lot of them burn out because they're like, well, we're not getting any help. But nobody's talking to each other.
Right. And
nobody's
help
helping.
Each other.
Nobody's helping, especially with like this, whatever entities are already in existence right now, especially like you guys partnering up with a bunch of these organizations that are doing the same thing.
Smaller nonprofits.
Yeah,
right.
You have the people that are wanting to do the cleanups.
Right.
Not just, hey, I'm here. I care about the river. No, like they're actually going. And,
right.
You know what I mean?
I know you've heard about Basura Bash, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I am. Don't quote me on this, but I am almost certain that Sarah is a partner in that effort.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that one's, I'll be honest, to me, I feel like it's a publicity stunt to a point, because it's like, let's all the city council people, let's go out there and show that we're going out there.
Let me go pick up my token piece of trash.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that the city council is doing that.
Anybody.
I'm just saying that it's just like once in a while.
Right.
But you have these organizations that are going out there doing it
regularly,
constantly, like, work with each other. You know what I mean? So I don't know, just
right.
It's just one of those things that I'm like,
kind of makes you wonder.
Right. Well,
if it couldn't be more effective,
it definitely could be more effective. Because that's something that I've constantly heard with these nonprofits. We're like, we're doing this. Well, yeah, other people are doing it as well. But what if you guys link up together,
right,
and
with a concerted effort, maybe get some synergy.
Right. So, but so many people butt heads because people want to be in charge.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So, with your experience with policy development and your approach, what's your experience with policy development and your approach to ensure Sarah's compliance with policy and regulations and all that?
Let me think about how to address that. I will tell you that when I was in the military, I spent 4 years overseas in England, and while U.S. laws don't specifically apply overseas, the Air Force and probably the military as a whole has made a concerted effort to basically apply them in spirit. And I spent probably about a year and a half working with U.S. Air Forces in Europe to come up with the overseas environmental baseline guidance documents for the UK bases. So that involved looking at U.S. law and UK law and regulations and figuring out what made sense for us to put into practice at overseas bases, specifically in the UK.
Gotcha.
So I've been involved in that. In terms of with the River Authority, I'm trying to think if there's, I don't know that we specifically, I can't think of anything specifically that we worked on while I was there, but, certainly, again, we've got to look at what the county's requirements are, what the city's requirements are, and then again, look at the science and what really makes sense. And you've got to also think about the potential economic impact of any sort of policy that you put into place.
Right.
In terms of compliance, I mean, you've got to comply.
Well, because you're also not going to see those policies take into effect for years later.
So sometimes, right. Well, a lot of times, right. The positive impact of those, oftentimes you're right, are not going to be an immediate. So there's no instant gratification with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is years and years. But again, like I said, the low impact development, that is a program that the River Authority really was kind of the pioneer for, 10 plus years ago. And they really have consistently repeated over and over. LID is a good thing. LID is a good thing. Get functional landscaping. So, yeah. Do
you think we would benefit if we did which I don't see it happening here, but like desertscapes for our
xeriscapes?
Xeriscapes, yeah. For our.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I know. I believe that I've seen. So certainly with saws, they have done the garden rebate coupons.
Right.
So if you can apply, and if you'll replace, I don't know, there's a certain minimum amount of basically grass and put native plants that are drought tolerant, you can get coupons to go defray the costs of buying those plants and getting them put in. So, I certainly think that's a very viable solution.
Because I feel like that would help in a little bit.
Well, I mean,
with the river.
I mean, it reduces the amount of water that you need. And really, it's pretty attractive. I mean, it's definitely probably different than what most people are used to seeing. They're used to seeing their big green lawn. Yeah. But honestly, with the trends that we're seeing with the weather, I don't know that's sustainable in the long term.
Yeah. I'm ready to put AstroTurf in my yard.
I know some people who've done that. You don't have to mow it.
Right.
You don't have to water it.
No, and then you don't have
blow the leaves off.
Exactly, just blow it off.
Right.
There you go. The Sarah's budget is critical to its mission. What is your experience with budget management?
So I will tell you, my last 2 years of active duty, I left the River Authority in March of 2016, and I left the River Authority to go back on extended active duty with the Air Force. In October of 2018, Hurricane Michael wiped out Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City, Florida. And I got a call from a colleague of mine on the air staff, Mr. Ed Oshiba, and said, Patrice, we really need you back on active duty. We need somebody to build and lead a team to get our arms around what it's going to take to rebuild that base. So that involved getting engineers to, well, first of all, we had to go out and assess the damage.
Right.
And then
Clean up.
I'll tell you, out of 484 buildings, they ultimately had to demolish 300 of those buildings.
Wow.
It was crazy, the amount of damage that, I mean, Mother Nature can really kick the you-know-what out of you.
And those buildings are pretty solid.
Oh, yeah,
usually.
yeah. So, damage assessment. Then we had to start looking at, but because we almost had a blank slate, we really took the opportunity to sort of remaster plan the whole base. Over time, we need a new logistics building. Oh, look, here's a spot over here. Let's put it there.
Yeah.
Well, we really took the opportunity to say, okay, let's really look at all the functions on base and really group them geographically together.
Because usually they're not. Usually they're not really that good.
Well, no, and that's because you start out small, and then as you add,
Right.
you kind of stick something wherever you've got some property.
Right.
So we really took the opportunity to really look at the whole base and plan out what function should go where. Then we had to come up with scope and budget, engineer estimates for all of that. So, I've got a goodly amount of experience with developing
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. That was a $4 billion project.
Wow, nice.
And I'm super excited. I'm hoping in November that I can go out and really see. I follow them on Facebook, and so I've kind of seen the different buildings and kind of what they're doing. But I hope to be able to go out in November and actually see for myself really what the base looks like.
Right.
It's
That's
probably going to take them another. When we started this, kind of 2019 is when we really got the estimates together. And I always figured it was going to take them probably about 7 years before they got everything rebuilt. So
did they? I'm assuming they took out all the planes out of there, right?
Oh, they had to evacuate them. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, they had to evacuate them.
Terrible. What's your vision for the San Antonio Rivers? And how do you plan to contribute to this achievement?
So, Sarah really talks about their purpose is flood control. That's kind of the primary reason that they were formed back in, I think it was 37. Their priority is to have clean waters. Again, that low impact development, not only does it slow down and reduce the amount of runoff, but it also, that natural filtration filters a lot of those pollutants out of the water. So safe from flooding, clean, and then really enjoyable. The River Authority's done a lot. In fact, I think in the last couple of weeks, I saw an announcement. There are 2 more parks along the river that are opening. True Heart and I'm going to draw a blank on the other name.
Like city parks? Or what do you mean?
Well, they're actually going to be Sarah parks.
Oh.
Sarah's going to operate and maintain them.
Oh, okay.
So they are along the river. I think those 2 parks are potentially downstream. But one of the things that the River Authority has been looking at, again, this is when I worked for them for 2016 to 2019, we were looking at how do we better connect with our downstream counties. Everything right now has been very sort of Bexar County centric. This is where the Sarah headquarters is. We've spent a lot of money, Mission Reach, Museum Reach, but we're really looking to better engage. The board of directors has 2 members from Karnes, 2 members from Wilson, and 2 members from Goliad counties on the board. So it's a 12-member board.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the River Reach and all that, if any of it was unnecessary, like, do you think maybe they spent money on things that wasn't necessary? It was too much vanity for it, or no? Do you think it was just the right amount?
I don't think so. No, I think that they've been very thoughtful about what they've done and how they've done it.
Okay.
I really have appreciated. So San Pedro Creek is the newest section that's been most recently opened, and there was quite a bit of art along there. But I really think that is another way that we really engage the community, and a lot of that art is connected to the history of San Antonio. So I feel like it's more a celebration of the culture and the history of San Antonio. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
I do think that's important.
Yeah.
Certainly I think the priority's got to be on the function and the safe and clean.
Right.
But I do think that there is a place for some of those amenities. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm a member of the San Antonio River Foundation Board. That's the nonprofit arm of the River Authority.
Okay.
And that entity does fundraising, and a lot of that fundraising is used for what are called betterments. So some of that art can be funded with that nonprofit raised money, as opposed to using city and county or tax monies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay.
So back to the park. So the Escondido Creek Park is outside of Bexar County. I believe that's in Wilson County. Don't quote me on that, because I'm trying to remember I think it's Wilson, Carnes, and Goliad. But the River Authority really is looking to engage those downstream counties more in the activities and in the amenities. So, I really think that the parks are important. And I think if you connect communities with parks, that's going to connect them with the river. And I think that's maybe going to make them think twice before they throw their Whataburger cup out the window.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, you don't want to leave those other counties out of the.
Absolutely. I mean, they are part of this river. Whatever happens up here ultimately flows through Wilson, flows through Carnes, flows through Goliad, and
I'm
out
assuming
to the Gulf.
they get taxed as well, right? For that or no?
Yes. Okay. I don't quote me, but I can't imagine that they're not part of that.
Right. If they
maximum
have
2 cents per hundred.
Yeah.
In
If
their property tax.
if they have a representative, I'm assuming.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel confident that they are part of that tax base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of you have the new parks, and especially like the Civic Park that they just opened up. I think they want people to go out and enjoy. And yeah, we don't want to see trash all over the place, but
right, nobody likes that.
I know it happens a lot.
Right.
When we get careless and I dropped a wrapper on the floor. It's fine.
It's just one wrapper.
Yeah.
Well, if 3,000 people drop one wrapper, that's a lot of trash.
Yeah. So pick up your trash, everybody. Pick it up.
Please pick up your trash.
In the realm of politics, conflicts of interest, how would you handle any personal or political interests that come up, if there are any? How would you handle it?
I would absolutely disclose it right away, and talk with the other board members. And if I need to recuse myself from something, then that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I mean, that's the right thing to do.
Right. Okay. No nepotism.
No nepotism. No, absolutely not.
Do you have like a favorite river that you favor? Like you're like, okay, I love this river because I frequented it a lot, or anything like that?
So I think the Mission Reach is amazing.
Okay.
I was not here when it was first renovated and all of that kind of natural stream channel brought back to bear. When I started riding on it, because when I was at the River Authority, every Wednesday during daylight savings time at 5:30, there were at least 3, sometimes up to 10 of us that would go ride the Mission Reach. We'd start at the Sarah headquarters, ride all the way down to Espada, turn around and come back. It's about 20 miles. And it's lovely. And even in the 3 years, I don't ride it as often now, but just to see the vegetation and how it's matured and filled out, it's amazing. It's lovely.
And they got fishes too.
They got
big
fishes.
Old fishes that are hanging.
Fishes. I see lots of people out there fishing.
What's the level of commitment that you have to protect the river and natural resources and wildlife?
Absolutely. I got into engineering back when I was a youngster, is when Earth Day started. Yes, I'm that old. And it really caught my interest. So I do think that we absolutely need to protect our natural resources. We in the U.S. and in many developed nations are really spoiled.
We take it for granted.
We turn the tap on and water comes out.
Right.
there are millions of people that do not have access to safe drinking water. Period. Dot. They've got to go literally walk to a river with a bucket, come back with the bucket on their head, walking back. They spend their whole day doing that. So they can't have jobs. They can't have careers. So
and it's probably contaminated.
Right. It's probably not that clean.
Right.
So, in fact, when I was still in consulting and active with the American Water Works Association, which is a professional organization, I was active with a nonprofit called Water for People, and they really focus on providing safe drinking water in countries that don't have it. So, our natural resources, I know they seem like they're infinite, but they're not.
Yeah, no.
And, maybe they'll last through our lifetime, but what about our grandkids and our grandkids and, 6 generations from now?
Right.
What is this world going to be like?
Right.
It's a little bit frightening. And so I feel like this is a way that I can take my leadership from retiring as a general officer in the Air Force to my technical background, working in water resources, and really apply it to help our community and help the planet.
Yeah. It's crucial. I mean, we, like you said, we take it for granted.
Yes.
Every time we're like, even to brushing your teeth or washing the dishes, you're like, man, I need to not use as much water. But you just forget. Like, you just,
I know. Well, I during the summer, during the day, I have my thermostat set at 78. No. And there are a couple people that are like, oh my God, that's terrible. That's so high. How are you not sweating? Well, when I'm sitting at my table on the computer, I've got a little portable fan that's rechargeable and I'm good.
Right. Nah, not me. 72 is my AC. I'm sorry, I can't. You know what? That's what's going to happen though, is the way they build our houses, I would assume is going to change as well, because it's colder now. And, with what happened with, in February of 2021, right. We were so, my house was 32 degrees. Right.
Right. Like, if you lose power.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to shelter you from.
Right.
It, it's...
Right. So, yeah, building construction methods may certainly morph.
Yeah. When we have issues that arise with commercial pollution, what does Sarah do in those situations?
I don't know that we necessarily have any authority in that arena. I will tell you, when I was with CDM Smith, one of the projects that I worked on was an industrial pretreatment program. And I'm trying to think if it was for the city of Bryan or College Station. I don't remember which entity. But the city, I believe, may have that jurisdiction where they, and certainly for commercial entities, there is such a thing as an industrial pretreatment program where there are specific regulations and standards that they have to meet related to their discharge.
Yeah. Okay. What are your thoughts on getting people excited? Like, how are you going to get people excited to vote in this election? Not just because of the constitutional amendments, but in your race, because let's be honest,
November's low turnout.
San Antonio in general has a low turnout in general. But on top of that, you don't have a mayor, you don't have a city council. You have this race and the amendments, constitutional amendments.
Yeah, I don't even think there's even any school board, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's just anything that's going to be outside of the county, which is like Converse and all that. But yeah. So
right. Honestly, I kind of made a commitment that I was not going to go fundraise and spend thousands of dollars on ads and signs and all that kind of stuff. But I'm making up small little cards, and I'm a member of the DAR. So I've reached out to my DAR sisters. I'm a member of the engineering community. I've posted on LinkedIn.
The Daughters of Alamo?
Daughters of the American Revolution.
Oh, American Revolution.
Daughters of the American Revolution. No, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So I really am doing grassroots word of mouth.
Okay.
Tell my friends, ask them to tell their friends. I think that's, and then doing things like this. Mm-hmm. coming onto, if I'm offered the opportunity to be able to speak to whatever segment of Bexar County,
Right.
I'm going to take that opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And it's frustrating because you want people to come out. People have tried and done all these things, but it just doesn't push people out. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I don't know what it is, because sometimes they cram it down our throats, like, hey,
Right.
go vote. But then
Right.
nobody shows up,
Right.
I guess it's the incentive of like, well, what is it going to do for me at the
Right.
end of the day? You know what I mean? So what would you say to those people? What is this position going to do for me?
I would say, first of all, that it's your constitutional right to go out and vote. And, people get frustrated about, well, I don't know how I can make a difference. You can make a difference by voting.
No.
You can absolutely make a difference by voting, because those people, if I'm elected, anybody in Bexar County, if they have a concern or a question, they should come to me and ask. I'm there to represent them. Yeah. So, I really feel like it's your constitutional right. And if you care at all about your creeks and rivers, then, you should be interested in who's going to represent you and who's going to have an influence on what the River Authority does.
Yeah.
In their operations.
Yeah. And there's, going back to that, I feel like a lot of people are tired of the politics of everything and the
it's gotten nasty.
If people get in trouble, they don't get in trouble. I'm not going to go into names.
Yeah,
but,
let's not go down that path.
So it's frustrating for people to come out and they're like, well,
why should I even?
Nobody's going to be held accountable. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we hope that everybody is held accountable, and especially in this position to where it's not as in the limelight.
No, it's not. It is very kind of under the radar in a lot of respects.
Yeah, and let's change that. So in a good way. In a good way. So what are some key takeaways for your campaign that you want people to know about your campaign?
So I would venture to say that I am the most experienced of the candidates, not to disparage the other candidates who are running, but I've got the technical background. I have the education. I have the experience because I actually worked for the River Authority for 3 years. So I know how the staff interacts with the board. I'm very familiar with that. I'm a proven leader. I retired as a brigadier general in the Air Force. I don't know how much more leadership you want.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have been a 4-star. I don't know.
That's up there, guys. Just,
yeah, it's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day, so what percentage of people make it to general officer? And I will tell you, in the reserves, it is less than 0.1%.
Yeah.
There are 75 general officers, and there's about 70,000 reservists.
Yeah.
In the Air Force.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I've got the leadership, I've got the expertise, I have the passion.
Gotcha. All right. And how can people help you? Or you say you're not really taking any donations, but if you are, how can people help you or reach out to you?
So voteforpatrice.com is my website. And I also have a Gmail account set up, patrice4Sarah@gmail.com. Okay. So the way you can help me is you can A, actually get out and vote, and B, tell your friends. If you don't want to, push a certain candidate, just tell them to go to my website, voteforpatrice.com. It's got my qualifications. They can read all about my background. So that's really how people can help me, is by getting out to vote and getting the word out.
And important information, you can vote for 2 candidates in this race.
Are you sure you can vote for 2?
Yes, because it's a 2-position.
Okay.
There's 2 positions.
Okay,
open.
That's a little bit different, because I thought it was basically you voted for 1 candidate, and whoever got the most votes was the 4-year term, and whoever got the second most was the 2-year term.
Right. It is.
But you can vote for 2 candidates.
But vote for 2 candidates, because they won't have it on separate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it'll just be one, because I looked at the ballot,
and it is vote
shows
for 2.
just one. It just shows one
block.
One block.
Okay.
So Yeah, it's a little bit different than what you guys would normally. I like it better because it's more geared towards like approval style voting, which I like better. But yeah, so tell us one thing that people might not know about you.
I'm a quilter.
Ah, okay.
I started quilting probably back in 1990 when I was stationed overseas in England. One of the wives of a colleague of mine is a quilter, and there were several of us ladies that got together and took lessons. And I just really enjoy it. It's kind of my creative outlet. And actually, during the pandemic, I sewed a couple hundred face masks through my Daughters of the American Revolution chapter. They put out a call to all the ladies in the area. Well, I mean, I think they did it nationwide.
Right.
All the different chapters put out a call to their members and said, if you have sewing skills, we'll send you a pattern, we'll send you material. So I sewed probably a couple of hundred face masks during the pandemic.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was fun. It was fun.
My mother-in-law, she's a quilter. And that's her Christmas gift to us is the Christmas blankets.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm like, these are some elaborate blankets. They're like, really, everybody wants them. But actually, she doesn't give it to everybody. It's whoever wins out of the, you know how you draw like a secret
you pick
Santa.
A name. Yeah, your secret Santa.
So you pick a number, and then whoever wins gets the blanket.
Wow.
I finally won one after all these years.
Right, good for you.
I was like, I need another one. I need a long one.
A big one. Yeah.
So
no, I really enjoy it. To me, it's relaxing. You know, you've got to concentrate. Got to have precise seams. I guess that's kind of the engineer in me.
Those things are expensive. She showed me hers, and it was like ridiculous.
Well, you know, fabric's not cheap, and I mean, it is hours and hours and hours sometimes. If you do a really large one, like a bed size one, it is hours and hours and hours of work.
Yeah. So thank you, Mom. I appreciate it. What is your favorite music genre?
Oh my gosh!
If you have multiple, that's fine. But
I'm kind of stuck in the 70s. Elton John, Billy Joel, Foreigner, Journey.
No
Boston.
disco though, right? No disco.
Really, I don't know. Some of it's okay, but I don't know. Like I said, Billy Joel, Elton John, Foreigner, Journey, Boston, Kansas.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed this as I've gotten older. Is there a music genre that while you're growing up, you're like, but then once you got older, you're like, you look back, you're like, oh, I kind of like this
you
music.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So for me, it was the 80s music. And I was like, I don't really care for the 80s music.
Like Flock of Seagulls?
Or like Duran Duran.
Oh, Duran Duran,
And I'm like, and now I'm like, okay, I'll throw it on for a little bit.
It is kind of fun.
Is there any music genres like that?
I don't know that there's anything in particular.
No? Okay.
No, not anything in particular. But I am a vinyl geek. I still have vinyl.
I've been buying vinyl again, and it's coming back.
In fact, my house got broken into, and they stole. Oh, are we offline?
No, we're on. Okay. Somebody might have called.
They stole my government laptop. They stole my grandmother's 1930 high school graduation ring, which was heartbreaking. And they stole my turntable.
Oh.
They didn't steal my VCR. They didn't steal my TV. They didn't steal my stereo. I was pissed.
Man, what's your prized vinyl? Like you're like, I don't want to even touch it because I don't want to mess it up.
I don't know. I have a stack probably this wide of records.
I've seen some that they have like a whole room and they're still there, like ton. I'm like, holy crap. Like, wow. Like I have probably, kind of about this. And I was surprised because I'm like, what am I doing? Like I have streaming services, like I have Pandora and Tidal, but I'm like, I don't know. There's something about the vinyl that, and even though it's not true to audio specs, like you're still doing
you got that pop and crackle in the background,
right? And it sounds good. Like there is something different about it. So we'll throw on some vinyl. Even with like my wife has all the Taylor Swift albums, and so it was just. But we have some Motown and some just different stuff, and it's just like. I just love it. Like there's just some albums that just sound good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So What was the last one? Just 'cause oh yeah. What's your go-to restaurant?
Oh my gosh, my go-to restaurant.
Small business, preferably.
Um, Easy's and Stoneworks.
Okay.
I mean, Easy's has been around for
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. We usually go there for like birthday occasions.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it fits everybody. Like
Yeah.
it's one of
There's
those
something
things.
for everybody.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There's a bison burger. I don't know if you ever tried that.
I have not tried the bison burger.
Bison. I never have either. I just think I
Come
was like,
on, you need to be adventuresome.
I know, right? I just get the pizza and yeah.
I do their superfood spinach salad.
Oh, okay.
Love
it. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming
Thank you,
on.
Eric. I appreciate you
just,
giving me the opportunity.
If you want to just let everybody know one more time how to get a hold of you.
So vote for Patrice.com or Patrice for the number 4, Sarah, Patrice for Sarah at gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Patrice.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Melancon. I thought I was going to have
That's
it.
Okay. That's all right. Nobody can pronounce my last name correctly. I'm used to it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining. We'll be here again at 9:30, hopefully. Well, actually, no, 10 o'clock. So come on, join back. And then later on today at 12, we will have Texas House of Representative Josie Garcia to talk about the constitutional amendments. So thank you guys and have a great day.
Thanks so much, Eric.